There has been a lot of discussions about whether there's going to be an interest rate drop in March, and you see a lot of banks, a lot of economists basically talking about it. Now let's understand the basic mechanics of why would an interest rate drop. So number one is when you look at the amount of spending that happened during Boxing Day and Christmas, there was billions of dollars spent just between Boxing Day and Christmas. When you look at the amount of money that was spent, there was 70% of that total amount of money that was spent on credit cards. So clearly no change in people's sentiments. You can see that a lot of people who are actually out there, they strongly believe that the interest rate cut is literally around the corner, and that's not the news that RBA wants to hear and see. The second important thing that is happening in the industry and the economics right now is that there is federal elections that are literally around the corner. And so when you talk about elections, a lot of these politicians, they come out and make a lot of promises in infrastructure spending and financial cuts and tax cuts, throwing more money to attract their voter bank. So again, not really a good news. The third thing that you can see is, banks' policy being a bit more relaxed as well. But banks have a lot of money sitting in their bank accounts, and so of course they're trying to push that money out a lot. And so you would see news like Westpac or Commonwealth Bank talking about 15 years interest only loans. So again, that's not a really good sign from an RBA's perspective. So when Reserve Bank of Australia is looking at a lot of these things, they're considering a lot of these environmental issues and macroeconomic environment as well. Now, we all know about US elections and what happened with US elections, and kudos to Trump. While I'm not a big fan of Trump, some of these policies that are out there, they do actually make sense. But some of the policies, when you talk about tariff bans or tariffs on Chinese imports, that would have major catastrophic impacts across the world. You would see that the rate cuts in US impacts the Australian economy in such a way that our dollar is technically hedged to their dollar, and so every time they would drop an interest rate, we would have to technically drop an interest rate because our dollar becomes a lot more expensive than their dollar, which impacts our balance of payments or imports and exports. Technically that's how it should work, and when US drops the interest rates, you would see Australia following the trail. But this time around, the story is different. With our iron ore prices coming down quite significantly, and even more so in 2025 and 2026 with mining boom coming to an end, you would see that the economy requiring Australian dollars or imports or exports, both per se, there would be a major impact on the demand for Australian dollars as well. So while that demand drops and the interest rate drops, there is no legal requirement, or there is no compliance requirement, so there is no demand-driven requirement from an RBA perspective to drop an interest rate. With all of these things combined, when you look at the macroeconomic environment and what's happening locally out in the local property market, I don't believe that there is an interest rate cut round the corner in March or April. I believe that the rate cut would probably be somewhere around June or July, and I hope that I'm wrong, but that's what I truly believe. Now, I can see that New Zealand has done a few rate cuts, and they have cumulatively cut about 1.25% of rate cuts, but their economy is seriously struggling. You can see that unemployment is at its rise. You can see markets or property markets taking tank. You can see market sentiments or people's confidence and sentiments at really, really low. And so those are the signals that RBA is looking for before they will even talk about the rate cuts. And that's why you don't see any news coming out of whether it be the RBA office or the government talking about rate cuts at all. So what do you think, whether there is a rate cut around the corner, or is that something that is going to happen? Let me know. Do share it into the comments, and I'll wait for some of that feedback coming back to you. Thank you for listening to me today. Take care. Adios.